Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hi there. Here's a question for you. What if the real competitive edge in leadership and indeed performance in any field today isn't strategy, it isn't funding, it isn't technology, it isn't even AI? What if it's actually your state of mind? Now, we live in a time where there's obviously huge disruption, volatility, uncertainty. But we are living in a time where your skills and experience still matter hugely, but actually they're no longer enough. And what I'm seeing more and more is the difference maker really is the quality of mind that leaders bring into the room. Indeed, that anybody brings into the room in any field. And the title of this particular podcast is something that I've been working on as a kind of an idea and a concept over the last 10, 11 months. It's called elite mental health. And I'm calling it the new currency of leadership. But I could say it's the new currency of being a human in this 21st century, this AI defined now 21st century. Now, before you think, oh, mental health, I'm fine, I'm going to switch off this particular episode, I'm going to ask you to stay with me because I think you might see and hear something different. Because I think when most people hear the phrase mental health, I think they think about negative. They think about illness. They think about somebody needs to get trained in resilience or coping or stress management or getting tablets or medication to help their mental health. Maybe they need to get therapy. But mental health to me is way more than that. Now, if you know anything about me, you'll know mid-20s, bad depression, managed to get out of that. But that was my exposure to what I'm going to call the negative side of a mental health continuum. But psychology, even in its roots, was kind of founded on studying mental illness. And then Dr. Martin Seligman kind of pioneered positive psychology by asking the question, how do healthy-minded people think? Bizarrely, nobody had ever asked that until about maybe 30 years ago. But that spawned a new movement, which is still rippling into current psychological approaches, models, and thinking. But I'm going to ask another question is, not just like what are happy, healthy people think, but what are people at the upper end of being a human? How are they living? How are they thinking? And that's where I'm going to point what I'm going to call elite mental health, where it's not just about surviving, it's actually about thriving. And that continuum, if you can imagine a line in front of you on one side at the very end is poor mental health. In the middle is okay mental health. But at the upper bit of the other side is what I'm going to call elite mental health. Now, most people, I think, are actually in the okay area. Inevitably, at some point, probably most people will have a moment where they might dip into the poor mental health and they kind of come out of it. Some people get stuck there, they need assistance. That was like me. I had to learn how to get out of it myself. But at the upper end, where I'm calling elite mental health, the markers there are hopefulness, aliveness, fulfillment, flow, creativity, clarity, and enhanced adaptive resilience. Now, I think it's logical when you think about it. So think about your physical health, your physical fitness. Most people think health means not being sick. Look, so I'm okay. I'm not in any major pain. I don't have any major health issues. I'm not sick. So I'm healthy. But what we've seen through elite athletes and actually science over the last maybe 10, 20 years is that there's a whole other level beyond not sick, just beyond even being okay when it comes to your physical health. There's strength, there's endurance, there's flexibility, there's high energy. So why should mental health be any different? To me, it doesn't. It's not different. And another unusual angle perhaps that you might consider here in terms of elite mental health is let's think about your ego or anybody's ego. So I deal with a lot of ambitious, sometimes egotistical people and I'm trying to help them have a more healthy relationship with your ego, because when it's a healthy relationship, that's where you want it to be. But if it's unchecked, an unchecked ego, particularly in business, distorts reality. And when that happens, it blocks clarity. Critically, it blocks connection. And that blocks your ability to connect with people, to lead people, to inspire people. It blocks your creativity. Now, it's not a diagnosable illness per se, but it is actually a big risk factor that undermines your performance and ultimately undermines your well-being, and also some of the key variables in your life, like your health and your relationships. So what does elite mental health look like then? Okay, well, to me, some of the traits would be having a clear, steady mind under pressure, particularly in high uncertainty and ambiguity, and you can make sharper decisions without having the full information. You don't overthink. You would have high creativity available to you and your high problem-solving abilities as a result on tap. You would have strong emotional presence in your being that actually people pick up on straight away, that builds trust quickly. And you would have high resilience and uncertainty. You don't need to have high control to move forwards. You're okay with ambiguity, uncertainty. You can make decisions and you can still progress, knowing that you'll figure it out on the way. Now, I've had many situations with myself and also with clients over the years. I'm thinking of one particular CEO that I work with who will be typical of a lot of people that I've worked with, where they went from believing that they had to be very stressed and firefight mode to be functional, to realizing that actually it was damaging their mental health because they were feeling stuck, they were feeling down, they were feeling depressed. And I think maybe I was the first person that they'd said that to. And so they thought that that's the way they had to feel to get results. But actually it's not the way. And so we just re-educated them and trained them to kind of say, actually, here's how now from the foundational level is to prioritize your mental health in a different way than just feeling okay. It's actually building yourself up in the physical way where you can kind of get high level of physical fitness. Now we've got higher level of mental fitness, elite mental health. So they went from firefighting daily to now be more strategic, watching their inner world, their mood, leading more calmly. And a useful metaphor in this context is one you've probably heard me talk about before. If you've read my book, The Inner CEO, or you've listened to some of these podcasts, I'll often say your mind is like a snow globe. And when it's shaken, it's cloudy and can be chaotic. But when the snow globe is still, you'll see everything settle. And then the scene in the snow globe becomes clear. And elite mental health is like learning how not to shake the snow globe as much as you do. Your mind is the snow globe. Elite mental health, at that level, your mind is not busy. It's not as busy as what it is now. People's minds, particularly leaders today, their mind is chronically busy. They don't even realize it's as busy as it is. And even if it gets busy, if you understand elite mental health, you will understand how to let your mind settle quicker, faster. So the reason I'm saying I think this is the new currency of leadership and high performance and fulfillment is that we are now in a world where that's getting faster, it's getting noisier, and it's getting more uncertain than ever. And that is only going upwards because of what's coming at us with AI and technology convergence. And there's a cost of neglecting this elite mental health, this mental health continuum. Because if you don't have that mental steadiness in today's world, you're going to pay a price in terms of poor decisions, broken relationships, and missed opportunities. But the payoff, if you do pay attention to that area, is that you will attract more trust, you'll inspire performance, you will feel better, you'll get better results, you will be more inclined to be in flow. And as a result, that changes everything. So if you kind of think about the old way of doing things, the old currency would have been, in terms of leadership, would have been about control, sheer hard work and grit and hustle, and even IQ. But we're now in an age, even with IQ, that's been commoditized by AI. And when we move into super intelligence with AI, something that's, we've got technology that's smarter than humans, any human on the planet, and you've got it accessed, you can access it any time just through your phone or your laptop or whatever. So IQ is now going to be everywhere. So the new currency really is about being able to lead from a clear, present, grounded state of mind more consistently. So how do you start cultivating something like that? Well, you can listen to me. There's more stuff coming over the current time. I see this as a big area of opportunity for education and helping leaders to really, really move up that continuum of elite mental health. But right now, today, starting points would be, first one would be, I would call awareness. So for example, before you make decisions, just pause and just check in on your state of mind and just see how your state of mind may be influencing your decision. Because when you're in a low state of mind, you're more inclined to make a compromised decision, a less effective decision. Hugely important. Second point would be around recovery, that it's critical to build recovery, rest, and reflection actually into your living rhythm. So it's not just about work and output, that rest, as they say in elite sport, rest is training. But for a lot of business people, rest can be seen as weakness. But I think a little bit of stepping back and reflection will show you that, hold on, rest and recuperation is absolutely essential to elite anything. And then the third point I call surrender, is that a lot of people I work with, obviously high achievers, ambitious people, they would unconsciously have high levels of control, even more than they realize. Even if they say they're a control freak and they admit it, which most of them are, even still, they'll have a high level of unconscious desire for control. So it's important to watch for it and then to release that control desire, which means accepting reality, embracing what's going on, acceptance of even things you don't like, and being more adaptable from that position. So I guess one of my key points on this particular episode, and there's more to come because I'm going to be doing a long form audio on this particular topic within my Inner Advantage Audio Club. If that's of interest, you can check it out in the show notes. But elite mental health to me isn't a luxury. It's not a nice to have, and it's not impossible for anybody to achieve it. It is the new currency of high performance and leadership. But if you're a human being listening to this, it's available to you. It's just about looking in that direction and watching for when you feel yourself in that space. Because to me, elite mental health, maybe this is the biggest point of all, it's innate. It's inside us. It's just we get caught up with busy minds, overthinking and not understanding that it's there, and that the more relaxed our minds are, even in an uncertain world, this natural elite mental health emerges. So a question for you as I close out is, where could your mental health, not your workload, be the lever for greater results and fulfillment? That's it for this week. Ciao for now.